from Hiram Clark. B. Scott from Hiram Clark. Do the Hiram Clark, do the Hiram Clark, do it. Do the Hiram Clark, do the Hiram Clark, do it. Do the Hiram Clark, do the Hiram Clark, do it. Do the Hiram Clark, do the Hiram Clark, do it. B. Scott from Hiram.
All right, y'all. Welcome into the B Block with B Scott. I was fumbling around with the ones and twos. I got a guest in here, so I'm figuring out all the back end production stuff. But welcome to the B Block with B Scott. I appreciate y'all for being here. If you're not already subscribed to the B Block with B Scott on YouTube, make sure that you do that. You can also find the podcast on your audio only platforms, wherever it is that you get your podcast. Excuse me. And you should also follow my guy Big Sarge, because I have the pleasure of having the guest of all guests. This guy you can find at pretty much any relevant Houston sporting event that there is. I always say this: whenever I go somewhere, either I'm gonna see this guy there or I'm gonna miss it and check in with this guy to find out exactly what happened and what I missed. So very proud, very excited to bring on my guy, Big Sarge from Big Sarge Sports Media. Big Sarge, welcome back to the show. Say what's up to the people as I get our proper look going.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. That's right. B Scott. Hey, look, bro, I ain't gonna even lie, man. Hey, can you just, like, I promise you I will not share it, and you can copyright it or whatever you need to do. But bro, I gotta just have that intro. So I listen to that in the gym, man. That beast.
Hey. So shout out to Figgy Fig, and I should say this more often. Whenever I play it, I should shout out Figgy more often. But since you said that, man, and since we live with the people and we having a good time, and we're gonna be here to talk Texas, we got all your sports stuff, all your commentary, everything that you came here for. But since Sarge did mention the intro, allow me. Got to get the vibes right. Hey, shout out to Figgy, man. I don't think I realized at the time.
How do you do the Hiram Clark?
There is no such thing. You know what, though? I gave Figgy a pass for this because he was just trying to be creative, honestly. And he not really from here. He not from Hiram Clark. He not from Houston. He was just trying to make a ill beat and flow to it. And I can only appreciate it. And you know what? I'll be honest. I should have came up with a Hiram Clark dance just because of this, but I don't really dance like that. So you can just do the South Side since Hiram Clark is on the South. You know what I'm saying? So we can just take a little bit of ownership of the South Side. But Sarge, welcome back to the program. Appreciate your time. Always a pleasure, man. Look, I wanted to talk to you since, again, this is Big Sarge of Texans Wire, Texans Tailgate Talk, Big Sarge Media.
Wait, hold on.
What else we got? The Unguarded. I should have led with the Unguarded podcast with Fred Van Vliet. I was thinking Texans, but we also got that. You go ahead and check me. What else am I missing?
Because I was gonna say you got to take Texans Wire out. Just take Texans Wire out, because that's our good friend Cole Thompson's thing. So
that's right.
No longer with Texans Wire. I'm
formerly of Texans Wire.
Yes, formerly of Texans Wire. Now just Big Sarge Media LLC.
But the point being, and y'all see that in this background right there, Big Sarge Media LLC, and that is the home base. Whatever Sarge is doing, and look, both of us have our own side conquests, like our own side gigs or whatever that we do on top of owning our own thing, the B Block podcast and the B Block with B Scott on my end over here on YouTube. You with Big Sarge Media LLC. That is the home base, but we are booked and busy, active, and what brought us here and what makes this real timely is the fact that we're wrapping up Texans OTAs and going into the voluntary OTAs and going into the mandatory mini camp. I believe that's where we are on the calendar. I just go to all of it and watch it and try to glean as much as I can. I say go to all of it. I actually only made it to one practice, which is why it's a benefit to have somebody like you around. But and I plan to be there all week this week. But I'm curious, man. Like, what are you seeing from OTAs, if anything, that stands out to you so far? They've been at it about a week or so, or at least we've been at it a couple of weeks, haven't gone. But has anything stood out to you just in the limited time that we've been out there? I think we've had 3 practices that we've had access to, if I'm not mistaken. We've heard from C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, Nico Collins, Jalen Petrie. Of course, D'Amico Ryans has talked plenty. We talked to the coordinators last week. So there's been a lot shared, and we've at least had a chance to lay our eyes on the team. What stands out to you so far, Big Sarge?
So my every time I go to OTAs, I'm looking for one thing. I'm looking to see how the second year players are coming into the season, because I know that I know that the rookies are just now getting themselves acclimated to being in the NFL. Hell, they're still trying to figure out their morning routines and what they're supposed to do, and where the meetings are, where the cafeteria is, where the training room is. What time am I supposed to be at the positions meeting? What time am I supposed to be at the team meeting? They're still trying to figure it out. What time do I need to be out on the field? What time? I mean, how do we stretch? So I never look and see how the rookies are going to get acclimated. I don't start paying attention to them until training camp starts, because I know that OTAs and minicamp are something that they have to get themselves used to. What I'm looking at is, how are these second year players coming into OTAs, right? I'm not even looking at the third or fourth year players. I'm not looking at the Wills. I'm not looking at CJ. I'm not looking at, the veterans like Davis Mills and Nico Collins. I'm not looking Dalton Schultz. I'm not looking at them. I want to see, what does Woody Marks look like? And I've seen that he's come back and he has lost a lot of weight, and he looks like he's going to be, just by watching his movement, like he's going to be quicker than he was and more shiftier than he was last season, right? So I'm looking to see how he attacks that, how he's getting along with, newly acquired David Montgomery that was brought into him to share the backfield with him. I'm looking at what has Jalen Noel done. Like, I know that he changed his number, but now that he's going to be put into a more expansive role, what is that going to look like? How is he, attacking the drills this year compared to last year? What does Jaden Higgins look like? Ariante Ursery? Like, I'm looking at those guys and I'm seeing, okay, so what are they going to do? And then I'm looking at anybody that's new that has been acquired, like David Montgomery, like Wyatt Teller, what's the other lineman that they got? I can't think of his name right now.
It's Braden Smith. I was muted. Yeah. I should have had you back. I was muted. Braden Smith.
Yeah, Braden Smith. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking to see, okay, so what is Tank Dell doing? And so I say all that to say this, B. I don't have any high expectations. That's why I don't give a full breakdown from OTAs, because it is, just a lot of shorts and t-shirts, no pass, no tackling, but there's a lot that can be pulled from it, but I'm not here to evaluate it just yet. I'm just looking to see, okay, this is the first taste of organized football that these guys have had since the last season, right? Their last playoff game against the New England Patriots, right? So now I'm trying to see, okay, so what did they do, or what can be seen in the offseason? And I want to be honest with you, I can tell that right off the rip. I can look and I can be like, all right, so you could tell that he's been doing some off-season work as far as maybe weight training is concerned, or you can see that he's put in some work as far as, sharpening up his routes and things like that. So that's the kind of stuff that I get out of OTAs. Now, I will say this, because I don't know if you're going to talk about fan favorite or not, so I will wait, but I definitely want to talk about Lewis Bond.
Oh, okay. So we can get right into it, because I got questions about the offense. I'm glad you mentioned that, because one thing that I want to do, I'm fleshing this idea out, and we'll just do it right here live. But I want to do a series, or maybe it's just one episode, maybe it's just one video. But I want to do something on camp crushes. This is something that we've been doing on the radio station for a while, and I figure I can just bring it here to the B Block and make it my own.
Yep.
But every year every year, and you know this, having covered the team for as long as you have and covering camps, and we're not at training camp yet, but every year there is a preseason crush or a camp crush, and by crush I mean somebody that the fan base latches on to and says,
Yep.
this is gonna be the guy. This is
Yep.
gonna be the guy that changes the fate of the franchise. Or I'm overstating that a little bit, but I can remember years back, a decade plus ago, when it was Lestar Jean. They had a big old receiver named Lestar Jean,
Yeah.
and we never heard from Lestar Jean. But they would have swore to you that it was going to be Lestar Jean. I feel like, and Kiki QT is somebody that actually produced for the Texans, but I think once he did, that's
President of the
somebody.
Kiki Guti fan club. Sorry.
And why wouldn't you have been after what he did? And was it 2018 or whatever year it was against the Colts in the playoffs? And he had come on strong in the beginning. So that was one. British Brooks has been one in the past. I can't remember if that was last year or the year before, but whenever he first got started, so I guess that was 2 years ago, maybe, he was a camp crush. This year's camp crush is definitely Isaiah Bond, and it's funny how social media works.
I wanted to call him Isaiah too. Isaiah Bond plays for the Browns.
Who is Isaiah Bond? I did that.
Didn't he used to play for the Texans though?
Hey, but look. This is how much Buddy got to prove. Where I'm gonna call him Isaiah Bond, James Bond, any old Bond until he go out there and actually
Barry
make
Bond.
good. Hey, I'm telling you, Barry Bond. Hey, one of them Bonds, Bell Bonds. Hey, look, until he go out there and make good on this, he's a camp crush. But I'm gonna admit, Lewis Bond is somebody that I'm intrigued by and that I want to see. Look, I think that he has a role or could have a role in this offense more so, or I should say this, just as much based on how the offense wants to run and operate as much as his skill set itself, right? They want to do a lot of short passes, dink and dunk, if you will, a lot of underneath yards after the catch. I asked Nick Caley about this straight up, about like where the explosives would come from, and we'll talk about this. So this is a subject that I have for us to discuss, specifically that. But when I think about the team and what they want to do, the offense and what it wants to do, and what Lewis Bond, I almost did it again, what Lewis Bond is capable of, or what his sort of scouting profile is, it seemed like he gonna fit right in. What are the streets telling you? How you feeling? You've been to 3 practices. I've been to 1. How are you feeling about this potential?
So here's my thing, right? Hear me out. B, I like Lewis Bond, as just from talking to him. And I will say this, the one thing that I'm very impressed by is he runs good routes. It reminds me of what's the young man that was in here last year, the wide receiver that I thought that the Texans might have kept. He came out of Minnesota. Him and Arion Terrestre played together. But the one that caught Jackson, I think is his last name or something like that. I cannot remember his name right now. But I thought that's who Lewis Bond reminds me of, because he runs very good routes as well. Lewis Bond runs very good routes. And my thing is, I like that. I'm watching. I'm just not ready to say, hey, man, let's go ahead and put him on the 53, or let's go ahead and sign him, because I need to see more. I've only seen him in 3 OTAs, and I haven't really seen him up against the big dogs. Like, you got to go up against the big dogs, and the big dogs is Kamari and Derek, and that's in no particular order. So I don't want nobody trying to be like, oh, Sarge put Kamari in front of Derek. No.
Fake controversy starting right here on the B block. We gonna aggregate ourselves and misrepresent ourselves. Fake controversy. Sarge say that Kamari Lassiter is CB1.
Right.
Fake news.
Somebody did put that on Twitter, right?
Come on.
There was a thing going around. I was just like, are we serious right now? But I need to see him up against those guys, winning the one-on-one battles like that. And I'm gonna say this: the dink and dunk stuff I feel like fits perfectly for Jalen Noel than it does Lewis Bond. I think that it's time for that young man to get that opportunity to be able to do that type of stuff. And here's the crazy part. You know who else the Texans have on their roster that can play slot? He's a big slot.
Nico Collins or Jaden Higgins. I was gonna say
Hutchinson.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, for sure.
Hutch can play in the slot too. You can put him in a slot too. So all I'm gonna say is this: is that I think that it's going to be really hard for Lewis Bond to make the active roster. And he might get on the practice squad, and then it go from there. I mean, there's nothing wrong. People have worked their way up from the practice squad, but I just want everybody to pump their brakes and calm down right now. And I remember Camp Crush that has me like not talking to a lot of people in these Texans, the Texan fan universe. Ladarius Henderson.
Oh,
they fell in love with Ladarius Henderson.
That's another good one. That's another good one.
Sarge is still in takes, and I was like, bro, I have Ladarius Henderson's phone number. What are you talking about? I watch it all the time. So
what is Ladarius Henderson up to? He's still on the team?
No, he's not. He's no longer on the team. I think he. Matter of fact, they had him and his wife had a child, and I think that he may be in some camps. This year. But as I digress, Lewis Bond. I let me put it like this: from what I've seen so far, I really like his upside.
So my thing is there could be space for him. Like, so it's a numbers game, right? And they're not more than likely not going to have more than 6 wide receivers. But I could see him if he impresses enough. He got a long way to go, okay? Yes. But I could see if he impresses enough. And he's kind of got a background with the offense coming from Bill O'Brien at Boston College. And there's some crossover in what he's done before and what he's going to be, what he would be asked to do if he were to make the team or if he were to get out there and play. And I just feel like so you got Nico Collins, the obvious one. Mm-hmm. You got the 2 rookies from last year who I think are also obvious, and Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. And I think Tank Dell, everybody loves Tank Dell. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like, and we can talk about that in a minute. But there is another one that, is going to be on the team. So there's 4 right there. And then, of course, you mentioned Xavier Hutchinson as well. There's 5 wide receivers that I just mentioned. I'm really looking at him at that 6th spot. And that's not to say that he's going to make it, but I do feel like it's open and that he is, in an ideal scenario, he is perfectly suited for it, if that makes sense. Like, if he wins the job or if he impresses enough, they're looking like, man, we got a bunch of dudes that we can line inside and outside, and then we got one dude specifically that could be like a slot specialist. And we know that that's been something that's been a part of this offense in the past, back in the New England days. I know people hate the whole Patriots South and all of the Patriots crossover, but that's basically what they're trying to do with this offense. Ain't no way around it. So I do think that he has the wet, I don't want to overstate it, but like that Wes Welker, Danny Amendola type of role, Julian Edelman type of potential role in this offense. Not that he would get that kind of volume, but that he would be that kind of player profile who is in the slot, catching short passes. Nick Caley talked a lot about yards after the catch and that being a way where they want to try to generate explosives, which is something I was going to ask you about in just a second. But yeah, I could see him being that kind of player, if not at that level, right? Like, I'm not saying he's going to go out there and be Wes Welker, but I could see that being like a similar type of role for him, something very specific. Whereas the rest of the guys, I feel like, are inside out. You mentioned Xavier Hutchinson is a big body guy who they could line inside, but we've seen him outside too, inside, outside. He can go either way. Nico Collins is somebody that they can move around and will move around because he's their best player, their best offensive weapon. Jaden Higgins is a big body guy. I view him as more of an outside guy, but they want to do that. They could probably do that. Jalen Noel, I agree with you, is the better candidate for this.
Yes.
But I also think that, like, he's got a spot on the team and they should be figuring out all kind of ways to use Jalen Noel.
Oh, for sure.
Slot, out the backfield, out wide, like,
That's where I think that they messed up. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, B. I was just gonna say real quickly. That's how I feel like they messed up in that offense last year, because if you're gonna bring him in, throw him into the fire, test him. Especially, you weren't getting a whole lot of production out of Christian Kirk. And I mean, didn't Christian Kirk start off the season injured, and he came back and he got injured again? And so at that point, I'm saying to myself, if we're gonna make Noel our future, if we want him to be our future, then let's just go ahead and throw him in the fire. Let him get the reps he needs right now. I think that they really did that young man a disservice last season by not getting him enough reps. And I'm pretty sure that this year they're going to make a concerted effort to get him those reps, but he should be going into year 2 comfortable with pretty much every situation coming out of his rookie season. And I still think that there is some things that, of course, that he has to learn, but these are things that he's going to have to learn this year that he could have learned last year.
So I'm glad you said that, because I've been trying to figure that out. Like, what is it? What am I missing? Because it's a team, and here's why I say that, Sarge. It's a team that lacks explosiveness outside of a select few people, in my opinion. Like Nico Collins, we can put him to the side. That's obvious. But outside of Nico, slim pickings on explosive, take the top off the defense type of players. They had that in Tank Dell back when he was healthy. Okay, he wasn't healthy. They drafted that in Jalen Noel. Okay, he's a rookie playing behind a vet, and for whatever reason couldn't or didn't work his way past the vet, whether that be the stubbornness of the coaching staff or his own shortcomings or something somewhere in between. Like, to me, it looked like a short leash. Just being honest, I felt like they could have had a little bit more patience and just a little bit more belief in what his skill set was. But I say all of that to say, what I'm trying to figure out, this is where I'm trying to get to. Where are the explosive plays going to come from for this team? All right, we're looking at, big year for CJ Stroud, which we'll talk about. Year 2 of Nick Caley, which we will talk about. But I'm trying to figure out, after having watched this offense and looking at his personnel, and we got J-Rock here. And shout out to everybody that's in the chat. J-Rock is asking, who is capable of getting 50 catches outside of Nico Collins? Who is capable of getting 50 catches outside of Nico Collins? I think Dalton Schultz would be a candidate for that. But I'm talking about explosives, right? So it doesn't have to be 50 catches. Put that to the side for a second, Sarge. But to my question here, where are the explosive plays going to come from on this team? Is it Jalen Noel? Is it a Woody Marks after his first NFL offseason? I'm trying to figure it out. I don't have a good gauge for that. You're not going to get a great gauge for that just off of some OTAs, but it is front of mind for me.
So when you look at the Houston Texans offense and you ask about where the explosives are coming from, I think that this all falls back onto second-year offense coordinator Nick Caley. And you know that you don't have the actual take the top off the defense wide receivers. That's not saying that Nico is slow, and I'm not saying Higgins is slow, Noel is slow. I'm not saying that any of the wide receivers are slow, but they don't have that Tyreek Hill type of speed, or these other wide receivers who can, some of the speedier, faster wide receivers, like some of those wide receivers that they have in Kansas City. They traded one, I remember, but anyway, they don't have that that take the top off wide receiver that as soon as he hits the field, the defense has to make the adjustments, knowing that, okay, I might have to take a couple of steps back because he's going to blow by me. At that point, now it's left up to Nick Caley, scheme these guys open. What's going on, Senor Boblé? You got to scheme these guys into explosives. And I know that this may sound crazy, B, but you're going to have to, when I mean scheme, you're going to have to do some creative type things. You're going to have to run, you may have to run a set to whereas you line Higgins up, you line Higgins up and you line, Noel right behind them. And now you got the defensive backs wondering, okay, so what's going to happen? So now they come out, bam, 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 and then whatever route they decide to run, you know what I mean? They can get, they're going to have to do some type of trickery. And that's what I mean by scheming. I didn't want to use the word trickery, but they're gonna have to scheme those type of plays open, especially until around about week 4, B. Because I think that around about week 4, you get Tank Dell back. You're getting Tank Dell, who is now taking the hits, who has now gotten his conditioning back correct, who now knows what he's up against, who now knows that he's going to be called in as that type of person. Him and Noel. I would probably put both of them on the field. I'd probably go 4 wide receiver set sometimes and let Tank and let Tank and Jalen Noel do whatever they're going to do. Also, you're getting back a hybrid tight end in Brevin Jordan, who can, he's a walking mismatch when he's used the right way. He's a walking mismatch against a lot of these, linebackers and safeties. Now, the problem is he hasn't played football in what, pretty much 2 years.
Basically,
he hasn't played football in 2 years, and that injury that he sustained last year was horrific. And so you're going to have to wait till he gets himself back up to speed, because you're not going to get it. You're not going to get that type of explosive from Cade Stover. You're not going to get that type from Dalton Schultz. But once you get Brevin back healthy, once you get Tank back, those guys should be able to help you in some of those plays. Now, this is where you mentioned them earlier. This is where I feel that the Texans have the biggest advantage when it comes to explosives. I would motion Woody Marks out of the backfield early and often, because if I motion him out of the backfield early and often, now that means that this linebacker is going to have to go with wherever Woody's going to go. And it ain't too many linebackers that can stay with Woody Marks in a pass route. And even if so, which to the point where now I want to make a defensive coordinator be mindful of, well, if Woody comes out there, I know I'm going to have to get this linebacker some type of help. And so when I get him this type of help, that means that somebody may have to come off of Nico, and now I can get that type of help. Or somebody's going to have to come off of Jaden Higgins, and I can get that type of help. Or somebody's going to have to come off of Jalen Noel, and I can get that type of explosive. And so all of that creates scheme wise. So as long as Nick Caley can scheme some of these plays, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I'm Nick Caley, I'm going back and I'm looking at some of these Los Angeles Rams plays and saying to myself, okay, how can I? Because Puka Nacua isn't the fastest wide receiver, but he's a very good wide receiver. So he's not fast. Devontae Adams, he's lost a little bit of, he's lost his speed to be the ability to take the top off of defense, but they still find ways to get explosive plays. So that's all I'm saying, B. They're going to have to scheme these explosive plays. I don't think that there is one player that you could depend on to get an explosive play every time.
And that is why Nick Caley in year 2 is super critical, man. I would say this. This is my assessment of Nick Caley in year 1. Started off rocky, and honestly, in the beginning, it looked like D'Amico and company. It looked like the Texans might have made an error in judgment in terms of not simply firing Bobby Slowick, but then replacing him with another first-year offensive coordinator, replacing him with a whole new scheme, right? Like, I thought either if you're gonna fire Bobby Slowick, you need to stay with the same system, so bring in somebody that calls a similar system. Or if you're going to bring in a whole new scheme, a whole new system, it needs to be an established, not just system itself, but an established offensive coordinator and play caller. They went left on both, right?
Yep.
they decided that we're going to change the whole system, and the person that we're going to bring in here is going to be brand new at doing all of it. Okay, fine. That's your decision. I thought, and when that is your decision, you got to deal with the consequences, good and or bad and indifferent, good, bad, or indifferent. And in the beginning, it wasn't great, man. They couldn't get the play calls out. They were bad pre-snap. I mean, it was not looking good. And I thought by the end of the year, of course, they go on that 9-game winning streak to end the regular season, 10-game winning streak if you include the playoff game. And, obviously before they lose to the Patriots. And I thought by the end of it, whatever complaints that I had about the offense, Nick Caley, he wasn't perfect at all or anywhere close to it. But by the end of it, I felt like he had caught a tempo that he was not toward the top of the list of their problems. I think the change this year, just to kind of oversimplify it a little bit, needs to go from, well, he's not the problem, to more specifically, he is part of the solution. To the point that you're making about having to scheme up plays. My criticism was that it was sloppy and not very good early on, like really in any sense. The play calling, the process of it all, like the pre-snap communication, all of it looked rookie-ish. Like it looked like 2020. Remember the first game that the Texans played in 2023 at Baltimore?
Yep.
Where they couldn't get everybody looked like a rookie?
Yep.
Because everybody was a rookie. DeMeco was a rookie head coach. CJ was a rookie quarterback. Bobby Slowick was a rookie offensive coordinator. And in that game at Baltimore,
Tank was a rookie that they didn't even start Tank that game. They should have.
Exactly. And of course, Will was a rookie. And so they looked like a rookie operation. Kind of similar, I thought, to start this thing. By the end of it, I thought it had gotten better. But now this year, to me, the big adjustment or the big improvement that he needs to make it is going from just not being a problem to being a part of the solution, because they are going to have to scheme up this thing. They don't have clear and obvious playmakers beyond Nico Collins, and that's with all due respect to these younger guys. This is also why I like what you said earlier about the year two guys.
Yeah,
and I'm curious of what your expectation is. We can go down the line. Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, who we talked about, Woody Marks, who you've mentioned. What do we think is going to be the improvement from those guys? Because I think that it is going to be up to them to make a jump, and Nick Caley. So this is a partnership here. Up to them to make a jump, and Nick Caley in year two to also make a jump and do a better job of incorporating those year two guys, because those are his weapons outside of Nico Collins. And then the hope of getting those injured guys back, right? Like, I think Dalton Schultz is going to be a certain level of reliable at tight end. But then the unknown of Tank Dell and Brevin Jordan, who, if they're even close to what they were, that changes the conversation quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, what do you think about Nick Caley? Hearing from him, we both heard from him last week. What do you think about him in year two and sort of what he needs to do to sort of improve?
I think that when it comes to Nick Caley, one of the things that I want to see is, and I had to give him a pass. So I had to give him a pass because he was a first-time play caller, which is the reason why I gave CJ a pass last year as well, because you're going into your third season in your second offensive system. Now you have to relearn a whole new offensive system. And did I think that Bobby Slowick was the best offensive coordinator? No. Do I think he was the worst? No. I just think that he was just new. Like, he was just I don't think that you can, it's like, I put it like this, if you're playing your son in Madden for the first time, he's picking up the sticks. He don't really know what he's doing. I mean, he could see what he's doing, but he don't really know what he's doing. And it's going to take him some time to learn. Okay, so this is how I, hot route. This is how I audible. This is the defense that I pick. This is how I move my defensive men. This is the things that I do. And in that first year, that's what Bobby did. In that second year, you come back and you're trying to put all of that together. All the while you have a second-year quarterback. So now they say Bobby isn't good enough. Let's get Bobby out of here. Let's bring in Nick Caley. And now you're going through the exact same things. The only thing that you have now is a veteran quarterback who knows how to prepare for games, but you're having him unlearn everything that he's learned over his first 2 years outside of the fundamentals. I'm talking about plays. I'm talking about protections, all of that. Hey, get rid of that, CJ, because I'm not going to do anything like Bobby does, right? So now you bring Nick Caley in there. Now him and CJ don't know each other from a can of paint. So now they're trying to get on the same page, trying to figure out what's going on. You got other people in, the room that has worked with CJ, but by the same token, it all starts and stops with Nick Caley. So I had to give him a pass. Because I was like, hey, bro, this is new. This is your first year of ever calling plays. And so at times, and I even said this to him. I said this to him during a press conference last season. I was like, hey, man, sometimes I'm talking to you. It sounds like I'm talking to Bobby, because what had happened? The offense couldn't score. The offense looks stale. What type of plays are you're calling the same type of plays in the red zone that Bobby was? You get down and get inside, you get inside the red zone, you get inside the 10-yard line. It's pretty much, hey, Kaimi, warm up, because you're going to have to kick this field goal. And there was times in games where you cannot keep relying on just let's go conservative and use Kaimi Fairbairn. You got to put points on the board. And I'm gonna tell you, one game that comes into remembrance for me be when I said, hey, Nick Caley is just getting out coached, and he has to learn how to make the adjustments. Dude, one of the things what we always talked about Bobby Slowick was what? Hey man, are you making second half adjustments? Like, are you? And he told me one time, oh well, Sarge, there ain't no such thing as secret stuff, and there's no such thing as secret stuff that you got at halftime when you come back out. It's the same thing. And I'm saying to myself, hell no, because the Lions went in and what's the coach for the Bears name that was the offensive coordinator for
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson had all kind of secret stuff like they did on Space Jam. So he went in, he made the necessary adjustments. So where is yours? And so I say that to say Nick Caley at times last year was the exact same way. In the game that really stood out to me, I don't know if you remember watching. Was it a Monday night game that they played in Seattle?
That was it.
It was late. And then I know it was late because I was in Seattle and I was at that game all the while. That's when the Mariners was trying to make it to the World Series. That was the exact same night. So they had game 7, they had the game. There was a sequence where CJ dropped back 3 straight times and just threw the ball on the go route. You remember that sequence?
I do. I remember it well.
Threw 3 straight times on the go route. And I'm saying to myself, oh, they don't know what the hell they doing. Yep. And then you come back and then you run the ball like 3 or 4 times. And then you come back and I'm saying to myself, bro, this deep. Didn't Will have a strip sack touchdown in that game? Strip sack fumble touchdown in that game?
Yeah. I believe he did. It's definitely a strip sack. Yeah, I believe so. I believe he did. Yeah.
Like in that game, I'm saying to myself, the defense is keeping you in this game, but the offense is not doing crap. Yeah. And so,
and after, as Senior Buble points out in the chat there, after a bye week, exactly. I want to say, I do believe that was, and I almost forgot about that until Senior Buble just mentioned it, because that was the part that offended me the most about it. The reason why I was as down as I was at that time, because I was like, man, they can't even get right after they come out after a bye week. To your point, Sarge, about the throwing the ball however many straight times and then running the ball, they come out the bye week not knowing what the hell they doing. That was probably my lowest Nick Caley moment, and I think it got better eventually.
And that's what it was for me. So the good thing, though, B, the good thing is you're able to get all of that out of your system in year 1. Now year 2, guess what? Nick Caley, you come in, you know everything that you're supposed to be doing. You're on the same page with your quarterback. You're on the same page with your with Cole Popovich. You're on the same page with offensive line coach, because some people don't know these people. Offensive line coach Cole Popovich. You're on the same page as wide receiver coach Ben McDaniel, who is also the passing game coordinator. You're on the same page as quarterbacks coach Jerry Shaplinski. So at this point now, I'm saying to myself, you got to take that next step up, because one of the biggest things that the Texans have suffered from since 2023, when they did get CJ, is there's no offensive consistency, and the offense has no identity. The defense, you know exactly who they are.
Yes.
Like, know, they got their identity. When they show up, everybody knows. When the offense shows up, you never know who they're going to be. So in year 2, it's left up to Nick Caley and CJ Stroud to orchestrate and develop an offensive identity for this team. And you get that offensive identity by showing some consistency. And once you get that identity, don't go Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. God dang it, if you're going to be who you are, go down being who you are. Not, oh, well, this week we're going to be this, and then next week we're going to be that. And last thing I got, because I know I got long-winded, what I want Nick Caley to do this year, open up the playbook.
Mm.
Everything can't just be about handing the ball off to David Montgomery. Everything can't be about just dumping it off in the flats to Dalton Schultz. Open up the damn playbook, find something to do. I remember when the Cowboys had T.O., and this was before Jason Garrett. I think I've said this before, but before Jason Garrett wanted to become head coach, this was when Wade Phillips was head coach of Dallas Cowboys. Before he wanted Wade Phillips' job, which was when Wade Phillips got fired, the first time the Cowboys had ever fired a coach in season. They never fired a coach in season until they did Wade Phillips and they gave Jason Garrett the job.
I remember this. This is like 2010, 09, somewhere around there. I remember this.
The year prior, B, I don't know if you remember or not, they got a Hall of Fame wide receiver named Terrell Owens. And during that season, that offense was so potent because what Jason Garrett would do is, okay, first play, we're gonna line T.O. up on, he gonna play on the outside. Okay, cool. Now that play's come back. Now we're gonna put T.O. at tight end. And then we're gonna stand him up and we're gonna put him in motion. Or we may bring T.O. out of the backfield, or we may put T.O. in the slot, or we may line T.O. up behind another wide receiver. You never knew where T.O. was going to be. So you kept the defensive coordinators on their heels. And that first year, I'm talking about T.O. was killing everybody because you're like, where is he at? What is he doing? So with that being said, hey, man, move Nico around a little bit. If you're going to get Tank back, put Nico in the slot and let him go big body, box somebody out and just catch the ball, this, that, another. Because Tank can play the outside. Tank loves playing the outside. So, B, all I'm looking for is for Nick Caley from day one. I'm talking about day one of training camp, establish an identity, go up against your defense and say, hey, this the hell we going to do. And if we can hone our skills against y'all, we could beat any team in the NFL.
Hey, you cooked. I ain't mind you going long-winded because you cooked, man. You said what needed to be said. When you said open up the playbook,
yeah,
man, it was like a sound from heaven. Hey, open up the what a concept, what an idea. I mean, that's it right there, Sarge.
Yep.
Open up the playbook. I didn't say this earlier when I was saying what my criticism was kind of about the early part of the season, but then throughout was just the lack of creativity. Feels like a lazy word, but that's really kind of what we're going for. Creativity, imagination. It just felt very basic. There's a comment in here. J-Rock is saying, I'm sick of every safety or outside linebacker just sitting in the flats becoming all pros against the Texas offense.
Yeah.
He's kind of making a joke there, but he's kind of not, because it's just like, man, there's not a lot of, you need one or the other. Like if you're gonna be a lineup and play type of team, you got to be road graders and be able to just whoop the other man's ass across from you. And then it won't matter if they know what you're doing or if you don't have a lot of creativity, because it's brute force. You don't have nothing for that.
And that may be what Teller, Smith, Rutledge, and Ariante and Ed Ingram are going to do.
Exactly. And so all I'm saying is I'm not really picky about what it looked like but to your point, when you said open up the playbook and form some kind of identity, that's it.
Yep.
That's all it is. And so if the identity is, and the stated identity last year was what I just said, they, at least I thought that they were going to try to be that kind of physical football team up front. They just didn't have the personnel to do that. Now they've gone out there and put their money where their mouth is by bringing in Wyatt Teller, by drafting Keelan Rutledge, by bringing in Braden Smith, by doubling down on Ed Ingram and giving him a new contract, right? And then, of course, Ariante Ursery, as you mentioned, as the left tackle. So if that's what it's going to be, then fine. If you're going to run back this same type of playbook and not open up the playbook, but you're going to run over everybody and you're going to just be nasty and stronger than everybody, okay, cool.
Yep.
If you come to find out, and this is something that they should be able to discern in training camp, if you come to find out that you're going to need a little bit more than that, and honestly, I would like for them to find a little bit more than that anyway. Figure out a way to utilize these, the playmakers that you got, right? And open up that playbook. I think that's a big part of it, man. So I couldn't have said that better, man. I like that. That is the big thing. So two things on Nick Caley, in case y'all are taking notes. Nick Caley in year 2. Open up the playbook. Please open up the playbook. And in doing so, find yourself an offensive identity. You know, straight up like that. I wanted to ask you about CJ, man. It's obviously an important season for CJ Stroud, an important camp for CJ Stroud. He has not gotten that contract yet. There's been speculation, we'll call it, on as to whether he might get that contract before the season starts. I honestly don't know. But in terms of contract part aside, we already know that that's looming. They picked up his 5th-year option. This is around the time the guys get paid. I was looking around. It looks like Will and maybe one other guy. He is not the only guy from that 2023 class that is now up for an extension that has not gotten said extension. Bryce Young ain't got his yet. And there's a handful of guys who have made Pro Bowl, and Bryce Young hasn't even done that. But like CJ, made the Pro Bowl his rookie year. Other guys who have made the Pro Bowl and who have been good players for their team who have just not gotten that contract just yet. So it's not like he being treated like unfairly or like, somebody else or something like this kind of peculiar situation. But it is an important time. The contract is what it is. We understand that that's sort of looming large. But in terms of the season and what Texans fans want to see from CJ Stroud, what you anticipate seeing from CJ Stroud, it's an important camp for Stroud. I'm curious just to hear from you, man. What do you think about how CJ's looked so far? Of course, we've only had a few practices at OTAs. What have you thought about what you've seen from him? Some of the things he's had to say when he spoke and what others are saying about him. Because others have talked about him having a little bit more of a command. And I think this comes with maturity and experience. But what do you think of what you've seen from CJ Stroud so far?
Hey, B, this is a family-friendly show, so I can't use profanity on here, right?
No, man, the family, it is family friendly, but if you family with B Block and if you family with B Scott, then you understand that sometimes profanity will slip out. Sometimes profanity is called for. We'll just be cussing people out or cussing for no reason.
Yeah.
But if a cuss word helps accentuate a point, we'll use it. So we listen, we do not judge.
Let me say this, B. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by Big Sarge on the B Block podcast is Big Sarge's and Big Sarge's alone. They do not reflect anything about the B Block or Brandon K. Scott. You heard the disclaimer, right? Make sure, B. That was it. I'm marking the time, B. I'm marking the time. Put it down as a disclaimer. All right.
I got you.
B, I've heard some of the stupidest shit that I've ever heard when it pertains to Texans quarterback CJ Stroud. Now I say it like that, and everybody knows that I don't have to put the Texans in front of it, but damn it, I got to do it. When it comes to Houston Texans quarterback CJ Stroud, he deserves every damn penny that he gets. Every last nickel. I'm talking about all the way down to, listen, I don't care if they have to pay fees to deposit his millions every Tuesday after he signs this big contract that he's going to sign. He deserves it. B, you're talking about a young man that in his 4th year is playing with his 4th offensive line. This is his 4th offensive line that he's played with. So we talked about offensive consistency earlier when we talked about Nick Caley. So CJ has to come into training camp every year saying to himself, all right, so at one point, I do the only consistent thing I knew I had coming in early was Laramie was going to be over here and Titus was going to be somewhere along the line. I don't know if it's going to be at right tackle or left guard. He was going to be somewhere. And then guess what they said? We can't afford to really keep Laramie, so we're going to take Laramie away, and then we're going to draft a rookie. We're going to go out and we're going to get 3 players, and 2 we're going to one we're going to cut before the season, trade before the season starts. Another we're going to outright cut. Another one we're going to keep. Okay, cool. So now CJ comes into the season again saying to himself, and as a matter of fact, B, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago, the offensive line that CJ Stroud had to play with didn't even practice until the last week of training camp together. They didn't practice at all. You remember Laramie was recovering from an injury. Titus was recovering from an injury, and then everybody else just like, all right, come together. Some people got to play, some people didn't. You got Blake Fisher playing, you got Kenya Green playing. Like CJ is saying to himself, all right. So then last year you bring him in and you're saying to yourself, okay, so CJ, here you go. This is what you got. All right. So now you want me to take 6 weeks to get to know these guys when it's 6 weeks getting to know these guys. So now they gotta learn my cadences. They gotta learn the protections. I gotta learn to play with them. I gotta learn their habits when I should be going into my 4th year with at least 3 offensive linemen that I'm used to playing with. At least when you had Titus, he knew without a shadow of a doubt, Titus got my back. Without a shadow of a doubt, Laramie got my back. And I know all this bull crap gonna come out about, well, when CJ was down, nobody ran over to pick him up. Hell, they didn't even know what was going on. So by the time they figured it out, CJ was already getting up. So with that being said, B, this young man has never had consistency when it comes to a complete offensive line. This year, he's playing with what? 2 people that he's familiar with in Ariante Ursery and Ed Ingram.
Who play on different sides. Who play on different sides of the line, by the way. They not even they not nowhere next to each other.
Exactly. You're gonna roll Trent Brown back out there. Trent Brown is like 78.
Yeah.
Now he's big, so he takes up space. He can get in the way. But we know Trent Brown's good days has passed him by, and that is no shot at Trent Brown. It's just that Trent Brown was amazing in his prime. He's past his prime now, so you're gonna bring in 3 different dudes. We don't know if Jake Andrews is going to play center. And if Jake Andrews doesn't play center and Keelan Rutledge, now you're giving him another center that he's had. So you're going to give him Jake. He's had Jake Andrews. He's had Jared Patterson. He's had
Michael Dieter.
Yes. So now you're like, okay, so all right. So what are we doing here?
Has he had a back-to-back center yet?
No,
I don't think he. Because he had like what he had. Michael Dieter, Juice played a little bit. Jake
Patterson
Andrews,
played a little bit.
Patterson played a little bit. Like it's been a turnstile. We focus on left guard quite a bit because we understand the situation there, and they brought in Wyatt Teller to fill in that spot. Hopefully that's fixed. But just as much of a turnstile at left guard, it's been at center. To your point, man.
So that's what I'm saying, B. You've never given this young man any type of consistency to prove that he is like everything that CJ does is because of who CJ is. Like, let's just keep it 100 right here on the B Block podcast, right? Because we hanging out on the block, right?
Let's do it.
Let me get a drink. Hold on, B.
I'll sip mine.
B. Everything that CJ Stroud has done has been because he's CJ Stroud. Going to the playoffs, winning the division, winning the AFC South 2 years, right? 2 years in 2 years in a row, and then going to winning 3 wild card playoff games, going to the division around 3 years. All that is on the offensive side is because CJ Stroud is an amazing quarterback. So this is what I don't understand when you got all these people, and I'm not going to say any names talking about they shouldn't pay him. He got to do this. He got to do that. And what if CJ Stroud isn't here next year? Then who do you think that they should go out and get? Hey, Baker Mayfield wants to come. Oh, well, is Josh Allen tired of being in Buffalo? Oh, what about Joe Burrow? Hey, man, maybe J.J. McCarthy can come and recreate the magic that he had when he was at Michigan. Hell no. CJ deserves every penny that he's going to get. And if it doesn't come from the Texans, which B, let me tell you this, CJ just ain't walking out that door. The only way CJ walk out that door if he asks for $150 million a year. And at that point, Kyle and Hannah are going to be like, I don't think we can give you that. But they know, the organization knows that CJ Stroud is a franchise quarterback. The organization knows that he's been playing quarterback with one hand tied behind his back because of his 4th offensive line in 4 years because of his second offensive system in his going into his 4th year. So what we're waiting to see, what we're waiting to see is, hey man, get CJ some consistency, and every red nickel that you spend on him will be well worth it. All right, B, I'm off my soapbox.
So I want to say this. I'm glad you went on that because it allows me to clear the record or set the record straight and clear the air on where I sat with this whole thing when the season ended versus where I sit with it now. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, so we keeping it real on here, right? And we always do.
Yep.
When the season ended and the way it ended, and coming off the week before, game that they won, but he also had turned the ball over. Man, I was out here defending CJ Stroud, man. I sounded a little bit like you, how you just did on your soapbox. I was going on a similar type of soapbox between the Pittsburgh game and the New England game because I thought people were talking crazy about CJ Stroud. The way they was talking about him, I was like, man, wait a minute now. Had a bad game. They won the game. He had a bad game. This not CJ Stroud. These turnovers you're talking about, this is not him. This has not been him this year. This has not been him throughout his career. One of the more impressive parts about him, aside from some of the highlights and all of that, if you really look at it and study it, is how well he's taken care of the ball relative to the plays that he's made. He's been way more of playmaker than give the ball away type of dude. And so I was like, man, look, y'all need to slow down. CJ Stroud is still that dude. He's still that guy. And then the playoff game happened. And I had to wear that at least. I don't think anybody was killing me for it. Not that I would have cared anyway. But I'm just talking about me. Me and you probably similar in this way where, like, nobody's opinion about you matters more to you than your own.
Yep.
And so, and I can respect that and appreciate that about you. I'm pretty sure you understand that about me. But I was like, man, long story short, I felt a little bit embarrassed just by myself. It was like, man, I defended and said that this wasn't what he was. And then he went out there and he did it again. But. And so I think on the heels of that and the fact that a more prototypical CJ Stroud performance, let me say that again, a more atypical CJ Stroud performance would have won them that game and perhaps gotten them to the Super Bowl. Because, of course, the Broncos were out there with their backup quarterback. I went at it with the attitude of like, yeah, this is somebody that's really got a lot to prove next year. And I've had time to think about it and reflect on it. And I'm like, there's no excusing the performance, but let's not act like the last 3 years didn't happen. Like we didn't watch, kind of to your point, the larger sample size, the larger data points tell you that this is a good quarterback, that this is a quarterback who has potential to be great if everything around him is also proper, not perfect, but proper. And that's the thing I don't think I was given enough credit for, was the fact that a lot of the things that you just said, he has had to deal with so much turmoil and chaos. I think even when they've tried their best to surround him, I feel like at times they have just not done enough, and at other times when they have tried, it has just not worked out the way they wanted it to. Like 2024, for example, when they bring in Stephon Diggs, they bring in Joe Mixon, they bring in Danielle Hunter, and they go all in on the 2024 season on the heels of his historic rookie season and Will being the defensive rookie of the year. You got these two linchpins, these two cornerstones, staples in your franchise that have established that as rookies. Let's go all in. And they did that, and they just wasn't healthy that year. I've said it a million times, I feel like already. 2024 will go down as one of the biggest what ifs in Houston sports history. What if everybody stays healthy? What could they have been? But I think at some point, and maybe the raw emotion of it all, I lost sight of what the journey, which is inexcusable because I've actually been here for all of it, what the journey really actually looked like and how we got up to that point. And so I say all that to say that your point is well taken, is fair and rational, even if on the other side of that, the disappointment is also fair and rational. The disappointment of losing the moment, because I think that is the one thing that people can look at as like, well, this was a moment. CJ Stroud can be as good as he want to be, but this was a particular moment for the Texans to take advantage of, and they just simply did not. Okay, fine. But to your point, like I much rather have, put it to you this way, I much rather have CJ Stroud as my quarterback as say whatever other option that you could think of.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like there is no, I can complain, you can get emotional, you can get irrational, you can be whatever you want to be. But when you come back to it and say, okay, so what would you rather do? Or do you remember before CJ Stroud got here? Because I know I do, and I know you do. Feel me?
And B, the crazy part about it is you had one quarterback who had the same postseason that CJ had, and he got put on the Madden cover. Did Caleb Williams not have 7 turnovers in the playoff games too?
Yeah, but he also had that one throw that was like he was going this way and then he threw it that way. He had some. I think there was a couple of things that's going on with that. Is he had some highlight reel plays, some Madden type of plays, and I think the league really would love for the Bears to finally have a real quarterback and to finally be good. They're one of the flagship franchises of the league. This is kind of beyond the Texans, but like flagship franchise, ain't never had a good quarterback. I think they so badly want him to be that. And then, despite the fact that he was up and down, he did like he was the one that would dig them in the holes and then get them out of it. And that was kind of the charm of what he had going on.
And that's the crazy part about it, B. And the reason why I brought up Caleb Williams, and not just to piss off Fred, because I look in the group text the other day, I put, look like Fred VanVleet is a huge Chicago Bears fan. That's why when we're doing the podcast, if you notice over my chair, right above me is a Chicago Bears helmet, and that's on purpose. That's on purpose. But we'll talk about that another time. B. I hit him up the other day. It's like, damn, look like y'all about to become the Indiana Bears. But that's another story for another time.
It does look like that.
But B, my thing is, and the reason why I brought up Caleb Williams is because Caleb doesn't get the criticism by his playoff performance that CJ did last year. Justin Herbert gets a pass every freaking year. Like I'm saying to myself, bro, y'all talk down on CJ so bad, but you pump up Justin Herbert or you pump up Trevor Lawrence. Hell, they even tried to pump up Bo Nix. And I'm saying to myself, are we watching the same games? And so that's my only thing. I'm just like, hey, man, look, when it comes to some of this criticism, it's just like, CJ seems to be the easy target that people want to go after. And I'm saying to myself, bro, we definitely not watching the same players. And I'm not here to say that CJ doesn't have his faults, because CJ does have his faults. He self-admitted that, hey man, some of this stuff has been on me. But B, this is why, and I already said, this is why when I look at the three losses in the divisional round, right? B, go back and you look at the defenses that they played. They played Baltimore's defense in 2023. They played Kansas City's defense in 2024, and they played New England's defense in 2025. All three of those defenses, if I'm not mistaken, were top 5 defenses at the time, right? Right. You go in to the Baltimore game, you only have rookie wide receiver Nico Collins because Tank Dell is out. He got hurt. And then you go in the Kansas City game, all you have is Nico Collins because Tank Dell is hurt and Stephon Diggs is hurt. 2025, you going against the New England Patriots, and you're playing, you got 2 rookies. You got Xavier Hutchinson, who got some run last year, but he's still one of those wide receivers that could, benefit from more touches. But you have no all-pro wide receiver, Nico Collins. He's out. Jaden Higgins, rookie. Jalen Noel, rookie. Christian Kirk, don't know what you're going to get from him. And then remember, no Trent Brown at the right tackle position, and you lose Dalton Schultz very, very early on in the game. So when you go back and you say CJ had a terrible game, he did. He did not play up to CJ Stroud standards, but let's not act like he didn't have a lot of factors against him.
That's facts. That's facts. Well said. And with all that being said, it's an important camp for Stroud. It's an important camp for the Texans. It's an important camp for this offense. And really in them just taking the next step. It's real easy, kind of the low-hanging fruit to look at Stroud. And look, I say low-hanging fruit, not to say that it's not warranted. We should talk about CJ Stroud. He's the quarterback. Sure. He is a star. No matter what you think of him, that's exactly what he is. Whether you think positively or negatively about CJ Stroud, the guy is a star. He's the franchise quarterback. It ain't about really if, and I think we agree on this. It ain't really about if, it's about when that money is coming. And so with all that being said and all of that considered, they got to get this thing right. They got to figure this thing out. And look, we'll see what it looks like. But with CJ Stroud, Nick Caley, these weapons, this offensive line, all of it, man. Like I think it's got to be on everybody, and all of it has got to come together. I think there is a certain level of responsibility that everybody has to shoulder. CJ Stroud just happens to be the most visible of them all because he touches the ball every time, and because he's the quarterback, and because there is a big responsibility on him to do the thing that he has done throughout his career. A big reason why you and I both are so high on the career that he's had, because he's made way more plays than he's given away.
Yeah.
And that's just a fact. Let me ask you real quick about Will Anderson. Because I think, well, I'll just say, let me speak for myself real quick. Will Anderson Jr. is my favorite player on the team. Okay. Kamari Lassiter is a close second. They in about the same neighborhood. But Will Anderson Jr. he just epitomizes not just what I think the Texans want to be about, but what just any organized sports team should want to be about. Certainly a football team. So I love that, which is why I found it interesting how it became a little bit of a talking point over the last week or so about how Will Anderson Jr. is wrecking practices. I'm curious what you think about that, of like, how on brand is it for Will Anderson Jr., who just got paid, to still be out there practicing like the renters do? Like this brother is out there starving to hit somebody. Like Will Anderson practices as if he's not Will Anderson, which I think is part of the charm of Will Anderson, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter, star, top, whether he's at the top, whether he's at the bottom, whether he's somewhere in between. It does not matter. Whether we're trying to go half speed, full speed, it seemed like Brett just really knows one way to approach the game. What do you think about Will Anderson after getting this contract and really going into this season as a bona fide all-pro second contract superstar in this league, man? What do you think? Really, what do you think about him out there wrecking practices and making life hell on that offense?
One of my favorite NBA players before Kevin Durant became my favorite NBA player, it was Kevin Garnett. And the one thing that they would say about Kevin Garnett is he took practice as if it was a game. Like they say that when he step on that court to play that game, once he gets on the court, it's all business. It don't matter what. I think I told this story on here before, but I'll tell it again. You remember when they did was that at the Toyota Center? They did the Hurricane Katrina relief game, Kenny Smith's Hurricane.
I believe so.
Yeah, that's when I found out how fast Gilbert Arenas really was. Kanye West did a performance at halftime. I mean, so Kevin Garnett was in that game, and I'm looking at it was me and my partner, and I kept saying, "Hey, bro, why is Kevin Garnett playing like they got an MVP trophy for this? Does he not realize that this is for charity?" And I mean, Kevin Garnett was in full championship mode, like it was a championship game. Because he's wired that way. That's exactly how Will is. Will is wired to, when he steps on that field, no matter what. And I think that he gave me that answer last week during his during the time he's at the podium. He's like, when I said it doesn't matter to you, does it? If it's OTAs, mini camp, walkthroughs, it don't matter. And then he said, I only have one speed. That's it. I only know one speed, and when I get on that field, that's it. I got one speed, and that's it. I can't take no time off. I can't take any rep off, and that's what makes him Will Anderson Jr. That's what makes him one of the highest paid defensive players in the league. That's what makes him a defensive player of the year candidate. That's what made him first team All-Pro last year, right?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was indeed.
First team All-Pro. And if he doesn't get hurt, if he doesn't get hurt the year prior, in October, they were playing the Jets. He had just got named AFC Defensive Player of the Month. And then remember they went and played in New York at Sea Caucus, and he got hurt in that game. And that took him out of the running for making All-Pro again. So when you're talking about a player like a Will Anderson Jr., Will off the field and Will on the field are two totally different persons. Off the field, my goodness, B, he is like he's like a big kid when he's away from the field, bro. He just laughing, smiling, joking, this, that, another. I don't know if you remember or not. Last season, I forgot which game. It could have been before the first playoff game, but it was one where they had Will mic'd up before the game, and he was doing all that cussing, and they just had to go beep, 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 beep. I forgot which game. I think it was before the playoff game, right?
Yeah, I do remember this because I was shocked by it too, to be honest with you.
So when I talked to him, like that following week, I said, Will, what your mama say about you doing all that cussing? He just started laughing. He's like, she said, boy, I ain't even know you could cuss like that. Your daddy said that you knew how to cuss, but I ain't never heard you cuss, so I didn't think that you could do it like that. And he's like, sorry, mama, but you know when I'm on the field, that's how I am. And so,
like a real Southern gentleman, cuss as much as he wants to, but his mama ain't never heard it.
Exactly. And so okay, so here's my thing, right? And this is gonna sound terrible, and I apologize up front to whoever feelings this hurt. Hey man, when I used to coach, I coached 8th grade basketball for 1 year. We won the city championship too. We only lost one game, and the one game we lost, B, is because I took my foot off the gas. Because I'm pressing from it's 50 and it's 50 hot. 50 hot, full court press. 50, pick them up at half court. Hey, I'll back up off for you. I won't press you till you get to half court once we get this lead. But I'm pressing from day one. And B, I don't care. If I'm blowing you out by 20, guess what I'm doing? Still scoring. Hey, keep scoring. I don't care. Shoot. I don't care. Oh, well, what about the gamesmanship? So, hey, look, it ain't my responsibility to have your players ready. It ain't my responsibility to coach your players. It ain't my responsibility to make sure that your players are ready to do whatever it is they need to do. I say all that to say this. Hey, man, Will's job is to disrupt and get to the quarterback. Just because it's going up against his own teammates, that don't mean nothing. Guess what that means? That means, hey, Ariante, if you got to block Will, you know exactly what you're getting. And if Will takes a play off, then the offensive lineman can take a play off and he's going half speed. Well, what happens when you get into the game? You can't, like now, if you get into the game and you haven't fully done what you needed to do, now look at you. Same way with Will. If Will isn't fundamentally doing what he's supposed to do, going full speed every time, then guess what? It's not my responsibility. It's Nick Caley. We talked about it's Nick Caley's job to stop me. It's Cole Popovich's job to stop me. Because you know what Matt Burke is saying? Same thing he said at the podium. Hey, I like when Will disrupt practice.
He wrecking my practice.
He ain't stopping my practice. You know what, Rod? Or you know what, defensive line coach Rod? Hold on. Wait, B. He's defensive line coach, and no, he has another title too.
Oh, snap! Hold on. What else they calling Rod?
Hold on, I got my thing right here. I don't want to take it. Defensive line and defensive run game coordinator. I don't want to take that away from him because he does have that title. But
okay, cool.
Rod Wright ain't saying, "Hey, Will, hey, let them run the play." Hell no, he say, "Do it again, because the first time he eases off, or the first time he takes a step back and doesn't go full speed, now he has to come over, and Rod is gonna ask him, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" Now, well, I was trying to let them die. I don't give a damn what they trying to do. What we trying to do over here is win a championship. What we over here, we trying to prevent them from doing what they need to do. And if we don't do what we need to do, then they can't do what they need to do. That's why I said early, hey, man, you're going to have to find some type of offensive identity. You're going to have to find some type of schemes. And you're going to have to find some type of plays, because if not, Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter are going to disrupt your entire training camp. And not only that, so here's the thing, because if you tell Will to take a step back, which, by the way, I love it, B. I love it. Hey, man, when you line up against hey, listen, Will gets a paycheck, Ariante gets a paycheck. It's a job, or whoever he got to go up against on the other when he's on the other side. And I think that, in all honesty, I think that Tay is going to be one of the best left tackles in the game here in the next 3 years. But that's another
stay tuned. No, I'm with you. Stay tuned. Stay tuned on Ariante Ursery. I'm with you.
So now, okay, so if you don't want Will to wreck practice, right? So you're saying, all right, coach, hey, can we get Will to slow down? Cool. Hey, Will, you slow down. Hey, Sting, Kamari, turn it up. Hey, Aziz, turn it up. Hey, Henry. Hey, Reed. Hey, Kalen. So now if you got them, you don't want Will disrupting practice, then what the hell you going to do with the rest of them? You going to tell everybody, slow down. If that's the case, then why are we even over here? You should just be, hey, put us back on this side so we can go do what we need to do. Y'all stay over here and practice against air. So I love it, B. And if anybody don't like it, that's letting me know your work ethic.
Hey, look, it's hard for... I say this: if the worst thing about you is that you work too hard, or that you care too much, or that you push everybody else to get better a little bit too much, I feel like I can live with that. Like, think about Will Anderson Jr. Nobody is perfect, right?
Yep.
But if your imperfection is gonna be this, I'll take that. Like, at least you know he cares. At least you know, I hear fans lament all the time about guys in contract years, how they'll perform in a contract year, but once they get paid, they get relaxed. Or if things go south with an organization, they might mail it in a little bit. Will Anderson Jr. is somebody that you can count on for as long as he's going to be here, for as long as he's going to be a part of the organization that you root for, whatever organization that might be, and it's the Texans in this case. He's going to give a damn. He's going to give you the same effort, energy, and attitude that he would no matter what. And maybe that comes off as corny to some people, but to me, it's the consistency that Will shows you, and that defense overall shows you, that the offense should be trying to replicate. And if they do replicate, now these boys is cooking with grease. Now the Texans got something going. If you can get, never mind Will Anderson wrecking the practices for the offensive side, can the offense wreck practice for the defense? Look, and I understand we're talking about different caliber players. Will and Danielle are higher caliber players than pretty much anybody that the offense is going to be able to combat them with. I get that. But damn it, where's your pride? Where's your competitive spirit? Here's what I'll say about, and I'll make this point. I just thought about this as we talking about it. One thing I want to see at minicamp, and let's really like transfer this over to training camp. Let's put this even further down the road.
Yeah.
I want to see the offense make life hell on the defense.
Right.
Everything we talk about over the last couple of and this is just for the competitive nature. Not that I'm rooting for one over the other, but there is a difference here between what one is and what the other is. I would love to have a practice or two. Hell, let me get greedy and say maybe a whole week where we just talking about, man, the offense was busting their ass.
Yep.
They was doing this, that, and the third, whatever it is, you know, as opposed to what we hear. And shout out to Will for being what he is, but this need to be the standard to me, as opposed to maybe trying to get Will to take a little bit off. Let's get everybody else to turn it up a little bit. Yep. Am I crazy for that? I mean, should that be a reasonable expectation when we're talking about trying to go from really good to great? Because that's what the Texans are. The Texans are they're a good football team.
Yeah.
Slow clap. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm happy for you. And I talked about this earlier. I mentioned this earlier, at least. We remember what it looked like before all these guys got here. Before DeMeco Ryans, before CJ Stroud, before Will Anderson Jr., before Tank Dell, before all of these guys got here, it wasn't so great. You and I were here for it.
Before Kalen,
before all of these guys. Yeah. We were here. A lot of the audience was here for it. Let's not forget. Let's just ask, and Senior Buble is mentioning this in the comment section in the chat. Let's ask everybody else to raise it up a little bit. Be your version of, you ain't got to be like Will Anderson, but be your version of that. What is your version of that level of intensity, competitive spirit, and desire to be great? Where is your version of that? Level up. Say all that to say, level up if you on the other side of Will.
Yeah, because it's going to be hard to turn. Look, you turn Will down, and I know I mentioned those other players, but you can't turn Jalen Petrie down either. No. You can't turn him down. There's no way he knows any other way but full speed.
Hey, these some damn maniacs in the best way. Let's just go ahead and be real about it. On this defense, in the best football way possible. And Jalen Petrie is another one of those who, like, off the field and away from just the violence of the game, is another one of those guys where you're like, I say this about Will all the time. It's like, man, I wouldn't mind if my son just kind of followed him around. Right? Listen to me, watch Will. You know what I'm saying? Listen to your dad, but watch what this young man do. Watch what this man, Jalen. They're those types of guys, but to the point of the team, I want to see the offense kind of match that and match the energy. Don't resist it. You know, that's for the offense, and that's for anybody that's observing this team as well, I think.
I'm gonna say this, B. I don't think I've said this on here. I may have said it in a past podcast last year, a past show last year, but so one of the reasons why Will is like he is, so Will has always played up, if you know what I mean by that. So like when Will was like 5, Will was playing like against 7 and 8-year-olds. And then when he was 6, playing against like 9-year-olds. So Will has always had to go up against bigger guys. And one of his best friends, I can't think of Kayvon's last name, but one of his best friend is the high school coach, the youngest high school coach ever in Georgia history. But he's the head coach of the high school that they played at, that him and Will played at in Georgia. So Kayvon is the head coach there. He told me last year that, and this was a story that was floating around because Will's father had told me this, and then Kayvon's father had told me this, and then Will Little League coach. So I finally had to ask, Kayvon, hey man, what happened? He's like, man, he said Will used to come home crying every day because they stayed next door to each other. He said Will used to come home crying every day, and he said, and he should have, because like we were always bigger than Will, like we were always bigger than him. He said, but the one thing that you couldn't stop was his motor. And I'm so glad you said that. I'm gonna put this clip out. I'm letting your viewers and my viewers know this. I'm gonna put out this clip from last year from Will's football camp down in Dutchtown, where they talked about, man, look, they used to make Will would cry in practice but he always get up and come back, get up and come back. Did he ever want to quit? Never wanted to quit, but he always knew like there was always these kids bigger than him to the point where Kayvon knocked snot out of his nose. So, but Will never quit, and so I talked to his Pee Wee football coach, and he said Will used to be in the game, and Will would mess up, and his daddy would be like, "Take him out the game," and Will's coach would tell him no. He said because I can teach him fundamentals. What I can't teach him is that motor that he has. I can't teach him that. I can't teach that. I can coach it to the best of my ability, but the motor that he has is what's going to take him far. And so that's why, now I just thought about that. I was like, Will has had this motor. He's played this way since he was younger.
Yeah, you don't want to take away what makes Will Anderson Jr. Will Anderson Jr.
Yep.
Like the player that was worth them risking it all, if you will, to go up and draft, right? Remember that when everybody was criticizing that move, it was like, "Ooh, that's Will Anderson. We like Will Anderson, but that's a little much. That's a little much," which was actually true, but you got to factor in who the player is. Well, this is the part that we're talking about here. It's like, but there's something that's a little bit different from just talent, production. There's an extra layer here that is worth exploring on top of all of that stuff that we're talking about here. So, yeah, man, it's I'd much rather, similar to how I'd much rather have CJ Stroud than whatever the alternative is. I'd much rather have Will Anderson wrecking practices than, let's say, risk him losing that edge or being ordinary, right? I credit him for not wanting to be ordinary, for wanting to be special, for wanting to turn it up and to push his teammates and to push himself. I think it's about both, right? Yep. Pushing himself, pushing his teammates, holding himself to a standard. And I can't help but to respect it, even if it wrecks the practice. Yep. Even if that means that the offense got to figure out, man, what the hell we gonna do with Will Anderson before we get to 2026, right? Before we even worry about that, before we worry about Buffalo or Cincinnati, we got our own guy that we got to figure out. And if we can do that, right? I feel like if you can solve Will Anderson, not that they can, but if they can come close or do whatever they can do against Will in practice, that bodes well for going up against whoever is next, whatever is on the agenda, if you will.
Which brings us back to what we talked about earlier. So now what do? You know that you got two of the best defensive ends in the game. So now what do you have to do? Now, okay, so you can't turn either one of them down. Hey, man, quick. What are we scheming up? Hey, get the ball out of CJ hands. Get the ball out of CJ hands. Or, hey, let's find some way. Let's open up the playbook. Okay, so how can we use that against them? One of the things that the Eagles used to do with the Cowboys when the Eagles had Brian Westbrook as their running back, I think that was his name, Brian Westbrook. What they do? Oh, let them come. Throw this screen out in the flats. And then we're going to make it to where some way, somehow we're going to slow them down. Or, hey, look, we got to find some way to slow them down because they're not going to go up against Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter every week. But you just got to be able to have that in your pocket just in case something happens. What if you have to make adjustments on the line again, and now you're putting someone over there that hasn't played there before or is not used to playing there? In the back of your mind, we got something that we know that can at least affect or slow down some of the faster defenses that we have to play against.
Let me ask you about the Texans defense. Of course, we're talking about Will Anderson Jr. here, but they add Caden McDonald, defensive tackle, in the draft. They bring in Reed Blankenship as the other safety. They brought back Sheldon Rankins. Now, some bad news, some unfortunate news was hearing about EJ Speed, and I really hate to hear that he's going to miss the season. I thought he brought some
veteran leadership, especially
veteran leadership, some energy, some really flat out ability. His actual, funny enough, his name is EJ Speed. Like he brought an element to that defense that I thought, not that it was necessarily lacking, but it was just like supplemental, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I hated to see the news about him, but
Got
that
Logan Hall.
Logan brought in Logan Hall, which is probably, I was telling my cousin about this. My cousin is a big Texans fan, lives out in Austin, but a big Texans fan. And I was telling him, man, Logan Hall is probably the least talked about, but potentially most impactful move on defense. I think Blankenship is going to be impactful. I think Caden McDonald has a chance to make an instant impact. But Logan Hall is kind of just flown under the radar. And I think, honestly, man, when I look at it, look, Logan Hall is probably going to play a similar role to what Danico Autry was on this team in terms of being somebody that can line up inside and out. He's effectively replacing him, in my view, at least in my view. We'll see how it actually looks. But I'm curious what you think. You know, as somebody that is around as much as you are and follows the team as closely as you do. Texans defense, we saw it. We know. Best in the, I thought, at least for my money, the best in the league last year. And I think if they had gotten to the Super Bowl or if it had gotten further in the playoffs, that defense would be remembered historically a little bit more fondly. I fear that defense is probably going to be remembered more by us locally who were living it every day than it will be on like a national scale. We'll see. But I think that that's a fair assessment. But with that being said, given what they've done with this defense, Sarge, do you feel like this defense is better than last year's, worse than last year's, or the same? Which way would you go on it?
B, because they missed out on being the number one overall defense because they set players out in week 18, right?
Yeah, but come on, man. We know what time.
Seattle edged them out, right? But they still were number one in a lot of overall.
Yeah. And Seattle had a damn good defense too. I don't want to shortchange them. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl, but yeah.
Okay, B. I need to B. And let me ask you this: what are the parameters? First of all,
yeah. So I don't want to make it a straight. I don't want to make it a straight. Let's have fun with this, okay? And let's not make it a straight numbers thing, okay? Because I think just like how, for example, I'm wearing an Astros t-shirt. I'll just use this as an example. I think the 2019 Astros are the best Astros team that they ever fielded, despite the fact that they did not win a World Series. Now they got two teams that did win the World Series. I think the 2019 team that didn't win the World Series is better. Now I could give you some stats to back that up, but really I'm telling you that as somebody that has just watched the Astros since I was since like 1995, since I was a kid. Okay. So this is more of an eye test. You and I, as experts in this field and on these teams and on this league, don't have to make it a numbers thing. They don't have to. What I'm saying is they don't have to rank as the top defense necessarily for you to believe this. Okay, so I'm just saying, based off of the additions that they made and whatever you view as what what they don't have, right? They lost Tim Settle, like however you want to look at it.
They got Tommy.
So okay,
just, B.
I what I'm saying is I test, Sarge. I test. Is this a better defense or not?
Okay, so
projecting here. We're projecting.
Okay, because before I say what I'm saying like we're not taking into account what the offense is going to look like and how much they have to be on the field. You just want me to do strictly eye test. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Like,
that's a good point. That's a good point. That's fair.
How much do they have to be on the field? So,
well, let's do this though. Well, so before we go forward.
What's up, Killer?
Let's do this. Let's just take for granted. And this is a little dangerous, but we're just gonna do this for the sake of the exercise. Let's say that the offense is gonna at least be a little bit better than they was last year.
Okay,
that they gonna give the defense something to work with that being a caveat.
All right. So see, I had to ask that because
that's a fair question. I like that.
So what year was it that the Ravens won a Super Bowl with that hell of a defense that they had? They only gave up what? 10 points?
That was that 2000 season. Yeah, yeah. That was that 2000 season. I remember that.
To me, The Texans had the potential to be that.
Come on now, Sarge.
B. They only gave up.
Sarge.
Hold on.
Let me see. Hold on.
Uh,
What's in that Texans cup you was drinking? Really?
B.
What we doing?
B.
The
They
Ravens.
gave up. Hold on. They gave up. Look, and that's why I had to stop and look it up. They only gave up 17.4 points per game last year, right? And a lot of that was due to them having to be on the field for an extended period of time. Coming off the field, going right back on the field, not just turnovers with 3 and out. So let's just say, for the sake of this argument, you said the offense was going to be better.
Yeah.
So if they're only giving up 17.4 points per game, which was the second in the league, I think, to the Seahawks. B, they only gave up 295 points the whole season. Points allowed per game, 17.4. Total yards allowed per game, 277.2. The best in the NFL, B. So you let the offense have some sustain more drives. Let the offense go out there. Let's not have the defense go out there and have to make sure that the other team doesn't score because the offense is only going to give you 3 points. You said, and that's why I asked. You said we're looking at it as the offense is improved. So if they only gave us 17.4 and the offense improved, they could potentially drop that down to like 13 points. And then and here's the thing. I know they don't have a Ray Lewis, but they got a Will Anderson. And Will Anderson disrupts just as much as Ray Lewis did. So you look at it like this, right? And the only weakness that I think that they have on that defense is the interior part of the line. I think that you got to see what Sheldon is going to do. You got to see what Tommy's going to do. You got to see what Caden McDaniel's going to do. So if they can solidify that interior part of that line and stop a lot of the running games, now you have. So look, B, you got two Pro Bowl, All Pro. I still think Danielle Hunter should have been All Pro, but you got two of the best defensive ends in the game. If you're going to rank the duos of top 5, they're going to be at least top 3. You got those two. You had a back-to-back first team All-Pro cornerback who shuts down an entire side of the field. You got another cornerback who is on the verge of becoming an All-Pro and who's on the verge of becoming an All-Pro and is a tackler. So you run away his side. He wants smoke, so he's coming. So he can cover you, and he can come down and help in the run game. You still have a good Aziz. I think that Henry To'oTo'o has learned from the errors of his ways early on in the season. You remember when that Tampa Bay game was bad because
it was.
If he didn't come in, and he knows that. He told me that if he doesn't come in full speed and just gets in front of Baker instead of coming in trying to pop him, Baker doesn't get out.
Yep.
But you got another year of Henry playing. You got Aziz there. And then one of the biggest weaknesses that the Texans defense had last season was to find another safety to play on the opposite side of Kalen Bullock.
Yep. Yeah, you had why am I forget? MJ Stewart get hurt. Yeah, Jalen Reed. I get all the Jalen's mixed up, man. I'm finna mess up that which one of them Jalen's it was. Jalen Reed got hurt. MJ Stewart got hurt, and the CJ Gardner Johnson signing just did not work out. He was gone as quick as he got here. So, to your point, that it was a turnstile at that position, almost like it was left guard or center or something like that.
And I know people may think that I'm overreacting, but let me ask you this, B. At any point in time last year, when you watched them, okay, I'm gonna put it like this: the Texans went 12-5 last year, right?
That's right.
They started out 0-3.
They did.
What happened once they got rid of CJ Gardner Johnson after going 0-3?
Yeah, I mean they started off 0-3, and then they were, I think, 3-5 at one point.
They were 2-3 going into the break, right?
You did see it to the point. It almost didn't matter who was that other safety, whoever that other safety was. even if he wasn't as talented as say C.J. Gardner-Johnson or Reed Blankenship or name your favorite safety opposite Kalen Bullock, excuse me, that whoever that guy was competent, at least maybe not as talented, but was competent, or at least on the same. Let me another way, a better way to put it, at least on the same page with the rest of the defense, which did not seem to be the case early on in the season with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I think to your
you don't
point,
have to politically correct this, B. Yes, no, he was not on the same page.
Yeah, no. To your
Period,
point,
point blank.
no. I'll say it even more bluntly. I thank you for saying that. C.J. Gardner-Johnson cost them games early in the season.
100, 1,000, 1,000,000%. Yes.
Just to be clear that I'm not sugarcoating things. I'm glad you checked me on that. We're not sugarcoating things. C.J. Gardner-Johnson cost the Texans games early in the season, and once he was gone, the opposite safety may not have been the opposite safety of Kalen Bullock, may not have been the most talented guy, may not have been a Pro Bowl caliber guy, and at least in one case or in a couple of cases was the rookie.
Yeah.
But was on the same page and at the very least was not costing them games. I say that.
And that's what and that's another, they kind of missed Jimmy Ward last year too. Having his veteran, presence just around and on the field, and him being smart, him being smart may not, maybe, because having the years that he has in the league may have brought back some of his athletic, take it down some of his athletic skill set. So that being said, B, the only real thing that they were missing was another safety. So you go out and you get Reed Blankenship, right? And here go these Eagle fans telling me, well, glad y'all got him because he can't cover. He can't cover it. And my response to them was, okay, cool. If you don't think Reed Blankenship can cover, that's cool. He ain't gonna need to. Not for long. He ain't gonna need to cover for long, B.
Yeah, he the strong safety, man.
He ain't gonna need to cover for long. And
they got Pro Bowl cornerbacks. What is they talking about? Do they not know the rest of these cats who we talking about?
And they apply. Listen, that Texans defense applies way more pressure than that Eagles defense does. And so now you got a real smart, strong safety in Reed Blankenship, who also isn't afraid to hit. But now guess what he does? Now Kalen isn't playing free and strong, trying to figure out, damn, I got to play for me. And this ain't, look, I put it like this. Jalen Reed, I think, did a very good job last year. He just couldn't stay healthy. Even as a rookie, he did a very good job because, B, what a lot of people don't want to talk about, but Big Sarge just said, because Big Sarge was there and Big Sarge watched it. Hey, that dude was out playing C.J. Gardner-Johnson in practice. Nobody want to talk about that. I'll talk about it. Jalen Reed was outplaying C.J. Gardner-Johnson, but you also can't just go and push him to the side. And that's look, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, because I know he one of the ones that if he see his name being said anywhere, he like to respond. I'm cool with that. Hey, I ain't got no problem with that. I'm cool. If you may have a different view, so I'm good with that. But now that you have Reed Blankenship, who, like I said, who isn't afraid to hit, who someone that Kalen Bullock doesn't have to say, well, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but am I going to have to help out? Like, I honestly and truly believe that having Reed is going to open up the ball hawking skills of Kalen Bullock. And I think that he is going to be around a lot of passes. He's going to be in the presence of a lot of tip passes. He's going to go and get a lot of passes. So that's why I made the statement that I made. B, if you give that that defense the amount of time to be able to rest and then get back on the field, because imagine if they played that way and they had to play as many snaps as they did. Imagine what they're going to look like when they get rest.
Man, for the other offense's sake, right? And I know this is Texan centric, Houston centric. For the other offense's sake, like I pity the fool. What Mr. T used to say, I pity the fool that has to deal with if they get some rest. But I will say this though, you mentioned, this is just kind of a sidebar to your commentary, but you mentioned the potential holes in the defense. I think this was going into the season. Opposite safety before they traded for Reed Blankenship, and then the interior defensive line. Still some relevant and valid questions about that. But am I crazy? You tell me what you think. And in the chat, y'all let me know too. Am I crazy for feeling really good about this interior defensive line right now? Look, this is what I'm saying. I think Caden McDonald is an instant impact player. I think Tommy Togiai is a player on the rise. And Sheldon Rankins is the best of the interior defensive linemen that they've had in the D'Amico Ryans era. And they brought him back. So you're only going to play two of them at a time. And I feel like you got three options that I feel confident about. And of course, Caden McDonald is going to have to actually go out there and prove it. You know, he hasn't played yet. But just if we're projecting, bro, I feel good about that. And I know what I'm going to get from Sheldon, or at least I know what I can expect. Okay, every year's different. But I know what to expect from Sheldon Rankins. I feel like I know what to expect from Tommy Togiai, if not even more than what I've seen from him in the past, because he seems to be a player again on the ascend, on the upward trajectory. So
Daquan Jones, remember that name?
Daquan Jones, there's another one. So am I crazy, bro? I feel we already know who
they're going to be better.
We know who the ends are. Those are all pro caliber guys, but those guys on the interior, Pro Bowl or all pro or not, better than I would say better than solid. What say you?
Side note, hey, Bella the Trey baby, I see what you said. Talking about Big Sarge, what's going to happen week 4? You know what happens? You know who they play week 4, right?
Week 4. I don't have the schedule in front of me.
Cowboys.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I see you, Bella the Trey baby. I see what you're trying to do, but
that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun. Little instant. That's gonna have your your allegiances. That's gonna mess with your allegiances versus the team that you cover and that you closest to. But
hey, man, I've done this before. I'm good. I don't root for either one. I just watch the game and then whatever happens, happens.
Hey, but a nice little Texas 2-step, if you will,
for sure,
ain't never hurt nobody. So I'm here for that.
Now this is what I want to say. This is where I feel like the Texans interior line is going to be, because when you just look at there's no Tim Settle, but you got Tommy Togiai, who I feel like the way that he plays, he's one of those that plays like the Rennes do as well. But at some point throughout this season, we're going to see Caden McDonald take another step. And what I mean by take another step is I like the young man because he already comes in and he has a chip on his shoulder because he felt like he should have been drafted higher. So, in the back of his mind, he's like, okay, so y'all don't want me? Okay, cool. I went to the best defense in the NFL. So now being coached by not only one of the best defensive line coaches in the NFL, my head coach is a defensive guru. And so I fell right into the right situation. And there's no possible way that I can be in a game lined up next to Will Anderson Jr. or lined up to Danielle Hunter and not go 100%. I can't. I can't, because they're going to look at me. If I'm looking over and I'm seeing what they're doing, then I'm going to have to do it too. So he plays, he has a chip on his shoulder to the point of where he's like, he's trying to prove something. And the best thing about it is exactly what Will had to hone in and have play with controlled aggression. Sheldon Rankins helped Will Anderson Jr. do that. Sheldon Rankins is going to do that exact same thing with Caden McDonald, because we're at a point where Sheldon is he the OG in the room, and he knows that I think he's going into his 11th season now, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is 11 seasons for him. So I mean, he good on his pension, one, but two, he knows that it's time to help train the next set of defensive linemen, the next set of defensive tackles. So he's going to take that young man under his wing. And by the time by the time the second half of the season comes around, he knows that he's probably gonna, he may lose a couple of snaps to him, but he ain't worried about that because as long as he can leave, Sheldon told me last year that he's at a point now where only thing that he wants to do is give back like he first came in, he was with New Orleans. What was
he had Cam Jordan and
Cam Jordan? Yeah, was his OG.
and
So
a
that's what
handful of
he's
other
trying to
guys
do.
too. Yeah, no, he had some OGs for sure.
Yeah. He says it was I thought you was a fan free agent, Sarge. Now that was last year. We back.
All right, so look, I'm gonna get you out of here on this because we done been here almost 2 hours. I forgot
Again.
See, this the thing, and hopefully people can sense this when they hear us talk. Well, you and I are actually friends, and so this is easy to do. It's easy to get way past whatever it was that you had slotted for this time, or like if you was like, man, you know what, me and Sarge, we're gonna go for an hour this time because
Right.
I'm gonna get to the. I want to watch the finals tonight, man. I'm over here like peeking in on the finals while I'm talking to you because like this is real easy for us to do. We talk offline, right?
Right.
When nobody is paying attention or listening or knowing that we're talking. So this is very easy for us to do. I'm gonna get you out of here on this. I wanted to talk some Rockets. We can do this another time because I got a whole off season to deal with this.
For sure.
And this finals game that I was going to ask you about has already started. It is 5 minutes until halftime. So we'll talk basketball another time. I want to get out on this and look ahead to minicamp because I'm about to see you at least for the next 3 days. I see you in the morning. We'll be at NRG checking out minicamp, trying to get a gauge on a lot of the things that you and I have talked about already on this show. But I lay it out as what I'm looking for or a particular thing that I'm looking at minicamp. And you can tell me if there's anything for you that you're looking for.
Okay.
But this is with the caveat that there's not a whole lot that we can glean from these small practice availabilities until we get to training camp and the rubber really meet the road. Mm-hmm. But here's a sidebar Texans thing that I am kind of interested in, and we have already talked about it a little bit. Remember when we was talking about the center position?
Yep.
And how there has just not been enough any consistency.
Yep.
And how it's been an issue. They drafted a rookie named Keelan Rutledge in the first round. The rookie played right guard in college, and it looks like he's cross-training a little bit to play some center in the pros. And he has the chance to be the center on this team, right? Jake Andrews was the center, is the incumbent. And, I'm not trying to like crap on Jake Andrews, but left a little bit to be desired if we're just being real about it. They could stand to upgrade at that position. Let's just be frank. Could stand to upgrade at that position. This young guy, this rookie, could be that upgrade. So I'm setting this up to say that is the thing that I'm looking at minicamp, because at OTAs, we have seen at least the cross-training happening. We have at least seen Keelan Rutledge snapping the ball a little bit. Now, it doesn't look like he's already, like he's just instantly instituted as the starting center or anything like that. It looked like they're going to try to work him into it or let him earn it or whatever. But I'm curious on what the progression is on that from the start of OTAs to by the time we get to training camp and to by the time we get to the end of training camp and get into the preseason and into the actual season. Who is the week one? Who is CJ Stroud center in this also pivotal year for CJ Stroud and his offense? I don't have the answer to that. But I am looking at minicamp to see how that progresses in terms of their confidence in Keelan Rutledge as their center. And might CJ Stroud finally get a center that he can, dare I say, get used to? I don't know, bro. Like maybe that's a radical idea. Maybe I'm tripping by thinking that that's something that they should prioritize. But I'm curious to see if he earns that job. That's what I'm looking at and looking forward to in minicamp and moving forward. How does the center position progress one way or another, whether it's the rookie or the vet or something in between? That the Evan Brown dude that they drafted, that they signed in free agency. I don't know who it's going to be, and I don't necessarily care as long as it's somebody that's good. But that is the thing that I'm closely monitoring as we follow mini camp, training camp, so on and so forth. So I ask you if there is anything specific that you're looking ahead at Texans mini camp, one way or another.
Well, I've already spoke about one, which was Sheldon Rankins,
Mm.
his impact. But what I really want to see over these next 3 days is how many snaps does Tank Dell get?
Oh,
Because this is going to be the last taste of any type of organized team drills that he's going to get before this layoff, and then you come back to training camp. And so I'm looking to see if one of these days that we're out there over the next 3 days, if they're actually going to let us see Tank go through, some of the drills, because he didn't do any in OTAs. So want to see if he's going to be able to go through some of these drills, if he's going to be a part of some of the plays, because you think about it, B, the last offense that Tank ran was under Bobby Slowick. This is the second year of Nick Caley. So this offense is brand new to him as well. So he has to get his footing, because everybody, when you look at Jalen Noel and Higgins and Hutch, hell, if you could even say just some of these other wide receivers that's been around that was here last year, like they have a step on him, because they've seen how this offense operates. And whether it's effective or ineffective, they at least know the offense. They know the playbook. So they're not coming in learning the playbook. Tank Dell is coming in and he's learning the playbook. And on top of learning the playbook, now him and CJ, they got to get their timing back down together. You also look at it as Bobby knew what he had in Tank Dell. Nick Caley does not. Nick Caley has seen him on film, but Nick Caley doesn't know what he has. It's going to be left up to Ben McDaniels to really do an amazing job of placing Tank Dell back into this offense where he can be effective. So in minicamp, at some point, he's gonna have to, I feel like they're gonna have to get him in and get him some type of snaps, because what do they go be the first like three days of training camp without pads, and then like that fourth practice, they finally put the pads on, if I'm not mistaken.
hold on, man. My doggone connection. You started chopping up. You were talking about mini camp, Tank Dell.
Okay.
Ask that question again. It chopped up literally as you was asking me the question.
They do the first 3 days of training camp is no pads, and then the fourth
Yeah,
practice is
that's right.
pads, right?
I believe that's correct. I do believe that's correct.
So I don't think that you want the fourth day of fourth practice with Tank Dell coming back, just getting 3 practices under his belt. Now you're putting him back in pads. I don't think you want to do that. He still got to, work his way back into it. So this mini camp B, I just want to see how many snaps, does Tank Dell get.
Yeah, I think Tank Dell is a big, and we could have spent a little bit more time talking about Tank Dell if we hadn't spent as much time as we did already. But he could be his own podcast, man.
For sure.
The Tank Dell element to this and what exactly that looks like. I talk about them not having enough explosivity and not enough suddenness. And look, I think Tank Dell, in an ideal world, he solves that problem, man. But I just, I'm guarded on that because I'm rooting for Tank. I make no bones about that. I want the best for Tank. I want the best outcome with that. And I just don't know. But man, if he can get back right, I mean, we talking about something. I said this earlier, man. We talking about something different. Tank Dell, Brevin Jordan, either one or both. We talking about something different, man. We really are.
And
So
you look at it like this too, B. At Tank's age, he can't afford to have another injury. Now he can't afford to have another lower body injury. He's closer to 30 than he is 25. So
yeah, and it's a contract year.
yes,
It's a contract year, like flat out. And we saw it. His rookie year was phenomenal too.
yeah.
But unfortunately, back-to-back years with, dare I say, catastrophic injury. I think that's a fair way to put it. Catastrophic type of injuries. it's time, you know. And I don't say that in a cruel way. That's just a reality. Like it something's got to shake here, you know.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be on Nick Caley, it's gonna be on Tank, it's gonna be on CJ, it's gonna be on this offensive line, it's gonna be on all of them as a group, man. So
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm excited about Tank, even though I want to temper the expectations a little bit. I don't want to get carried away. I'm very excited about, like, that question I asked earlier in the show. Where is the explosivity going to come from? Where are the explosive plays supposed to come from? Could be Jalen Noel, could be Woody Marks, could be Jaden Higgins. We already know what Nico is. Could also be Tank Dell, man. And I'm hesitant to go there until we know more and see more. And I don't want to put too many eggs in the basket, too much pressure on a guy that's been catastrophically injured in back-to-back years. But I ain't forgot. I ain't forgot what Tank Dell is. You ain't forgot. You know what I'm saying? So that's that's that, man. All right, look, we done this 2 hours. This has been fun. I ain't mean to keep you this long,
Bro,
but I
you
just
already
happen to know. I just happen to know that it's okay. You one of the few people I do this with too. Like, man, I go ahead and keep Sarge because if it's a problem, he'll let me know on the back end. But we good. You know what I'm saying? We like family in here. And the B block, everybody on the B block, everybody at Big Sarge Media, we family. So y'all check us out. We're gonna try to do this, and we've talked about this offline a little bit, but we'll share it with the people as we wrap up here. We're gonna try to do this a little bit more, man. We got a whole season to get ready for. We got training camp coming up. We got mini camp this week, and there's a lot to digest. There is a lot to talk about, and I don't know if you're gonna find too much better than the two of us. And honestly, you know, Sarge, I tell you this, man, you make this show better. You know, I feel good about what I'm doing on my own, but I gotta keep bringing in some of the stronger links to make the show better. I'm not saying that the show is bad. I ain't that humble. Hold on, I ain't that humble. I ain't saying that the show is bad without you. It's pretty damn good.
It really is.
But when you come on, you make it better. So
you know why?
I say that to say I appreciate your time and I appreciate you for doing it.
You remember that time they had that dinner and I don't know which one, if he's Key or if he's Peel. What's the light skinned bald head one?
That's the taller one is Key, and the shorter one is Jordan Peele, because he didn't want to make all the movies and whatnot.
Gotcha. So Key, did you see that thing when Key was President Obama's alter ego?
Yeah, I do. I did.
So so that's how I feel like I am when like I can say it because hey, look, Sarge said that shit. It wasn't me. It was
the brother inside is saying, is really trying to say, you know, straight up. All right, Sarge, before we get out of here, man, let them know, since I butchered it on the front end, let them know where to find you and all your work and everything you do.
Well, wait, hey, one of these happy hours we gotta bring Reggie on here, because sometimes Reggie be blinking and I'd be like, I want to save you, Reggie, but I think they've already tapped the cup.
Hey, you know what? The good thing the good thing about Reggie is that he would be down for that. He would be down for that. I give him that, man. He is a good sport.
That's funny. Tap the cup on my boy. That boy be like this. Hey, you can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Sarge Sports, the Z at the end. Follow me on the tick and the talk at Big Sarge Media. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Big Sarge Sports with a Z at the end, because you know we do everything for the gram. And make sure you are subscribed to the Texas Tailgate Talk podcast on YouTube and Big Sarge Media on YouTube. Yeah, that's all I got.
All of that. And you know we can't leave without a little bit of get out of here with this, man. For Big Sarge of Big Sarge Media, I'm B Scott, the B Block with B Scott, the B Block Podcast, Sports Radio 610 as well. Y'all tap in, man. This is the place to be. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no Hiram Clark dance, but we got the South Side. We can apply it. Y'all rock with us, man. Sarge, I appreciate you, dog.
Appreciate it, brother.
Do the Hiram Clark, do the Hiram Clark, do it. Do the Hiram Clark, do the Hiram Clark, do it. B. Scott from Hiram Clark, coming down looking smart. Candy paint on the car, push the button just to start. Riding clean, looking fly. H-Town till he die. Swinging down West Time and throw the deuces in the sky. Sam Houston represent, you other cats irrelevant. He be at the press conference, getting all the questions in. 610 represent, you know how he do it. B. Scott from Hiram Clark, do it. B. Scott from Hiram Clark, 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 B. Scott from Hiram Clark. Do the Hiram Clark, do the